Sentinels of the Multiverse is a cooperative card game, as well as a love letter to the wonderful world of superhero comics. In this game, you will be using 3 to 5 heroes to fight one villain, and there is also an environment deck in play that adds to the chaos that needs to be managed by the heroes. The environment and villain decks play themselves, and you will have 1 to 5 players choosing how the 3 to 5 heroes will overcome their adversary. One full game will last approximately 30 to 60 minutes. In the core game there are 10 heroes, 4 villains, and 4 environments, but with the massive array of expansions available, this number is increased to a massive total of 37 heroes, 62 variants of the 37 heroes, 30 villains, 27 environments, and 2 additional game modes that add 9 infinite levels of replayability. Despite how much content there is to this game, the basic rules are relatively simple. Every hero starts with 4 cards in hand. The game begins as the villain plays a card. Then all the heroes get to play a card, use a power, and draw a card in clockwise turn order. Once all the heroes have taken a turn, the environment deck plays a card, and then the villain starts the next round. During their turn, a hero may choose to skip playing a card or using a power, or even both. If both the card play and the power use are skipped, that player gets to draw 2 cards instead of 1. The power available to a hero is shown on their character card, which is put into play separate from the hero's 40 card deck. This character card also shows your hero's name, maximum health, starting health, and nemesis icon. The villain also has a character card that shows their health, abilities, and nemesis icon aside from their 25 card deck. The environment deck does not have any type of display cards outside of their 15 card deck. You can immediately recognize the affiliation of a card by checking its border color. Environment cards are green, villain cards are purple, and hero cards are yellow. That's really all the information you need to get started. Now that the basics have been covered, let's cover some of the aspects of the game that provide the framework of play. Most of these rules are very straightforward, but from my experience I have found that it's still very nice to have someone clarify these things. We'll start with the different types of cards you'll encounter. A one-shot acts much like a spell in other games. The one-shot enters play, has an immediate effect, then goes to the trash. Legacy's card Backfist Strike is a great example. You play the card, deal one target 4 damage, then the card goes to Legacy's trash. Straightforward and to the point. Ongoings stay in play, and as long as an ongoing is in play, their effects are active. Legacy's Danger Sense is an ongoing that prevents Legacy from taking damage from the environment. But if that card were to be destroyed somehow, then Legacy will no longer have that ability available to him until he plays that card again. Equipment cards behave exactly like ongoings. They stay in play until destroyed. The Legacy Ring is an equipment that grants an additional power use during his turn. Many of the cards you'll see in hero decks will have the additional keyword limited. Limited cards simply mean that you can only have 1 copy of that specific card in play. For example, Legacy has the equipment the Legacy Ring in play, and an additional copy in hand. He is not allowed to play the copy of the Legacy Ring in hand until the one in play is destroyed or otherwise removed. However, he also has the card Motivational Charge in hand, which will give him access to an alternate power. Even though it is also limited, Legacy can play Motivational Charge because he doesn't already have a copy of Motivational Charge in play. While I have these cards on the screen, let's take a small detour to talk about how to use powers. Normally, a hero can only play 1 card and use 1 power in a turn. But in this example, Legacy has the Legacy Ring in play, which allows him to use an additional power during his turn. However, you can't use the same power twice in a turn, which means he needs access to a power other than Galvanize. Legacy would not be able to use his additional power use if he didn't have Motivational Charge in play, which gives him an alternate power to use. Since Legacy has 2 different powers available to him, as well as 2 power uses during his turn, he can use both Galvanize, the power on his character card which increases the damage hero targets deal for 1 round, and Motivational Charge, which will deal 3 damage instead of 2 because of Galvanize, as well as heal every hero target 1 point. To clarify, any card with a health value is considered a target. That will generally mean the heroes, the villain, and their minions, but the environment and other heroes can sometimes create other targets as well. And now to finish talking about keywords. Occasionally you'll come across keywords that haven't been mentioned yet, like device, relic, or minion. These keywords are only relevant to cards specifying such keywords. Absolute Zero's onboard module installation searches for module cards in Absolute Zero's deck, which would be either his null point calibration unit or his isothermic transducer. Another example includes Fnatic's equipment Absolution, which is also considered to be a relic. When she plays End of Days, which destroys all non-character cards in play aside from relics, Absolution would stay in play because of its status of relic. There are many cards in environment decks that don't have any keywords on them, like Obsidian Field from Insula Primalis, and in this case they are only considered to be environment cards. Many of these environment cards have effects that allow their removal without any form of specific interference, like in this case discarding 2 cards at the end of the turn, but there are also plenty of heroes with the ability to destroy environment cards as well as ongoing cards, like Fnatic's Consecrated Ground. Now that we've covered what to expect when you encounter any given cards in this game, let's cover how damage works in Sentinels of the Multiverse. There is one source of damage alteration that is constantly in effect, that being the Nemesis mechanic. Every villain has a nemesis, a hero that they are more opposed to than most others, and the same goes for heroes. Whenever a hero and their nemesis are in the same game, they deal extra damage to each other. You can identify which heroes and villains are nemesis by the hero icon on the bottom right corner of character cards. In the previous example where Legacy used the Legacy Ring to first activate his Galvanize power on his character card, then decided to use Motivational Charge, he would then be dealing 3 damage. Now let's say that he decides to hit Baron Blade. Well, Baron Blade happens to be Legacy's nemesis, and will end up taking 4 damage instead of 3. But be careful, what goes around comes around. If Baron Blade would hit Legacy, Legacy would take more damage than other heroes. There are also a variety of damage types in this game, but only make a difference when there is a card in play that specifies damage types. For example, let's say that Legacy uses the power on Next Evolution, and chooses to make himself immune to melee damage. During the villain's turn, Baron Blade plays Hasten Doom. Legacy would still take 3 points of damage because toxic damage is different than melee damage. The damage is also increased by 1 because of the Nemesis mechanic. Hasten Doom also plays the top card of the villain deck, which happens to be Slash and Burn. In this instance, we'll say that Legacy is the hero with the lowest hit points, so he would take H melee damage. H is a variable that equals how many heroes are in the game. Because Legacy chose melee damage for his Next Evolution power, he is immune and doesn't lose any hit points. Another instance of damage type making a difference is with the hero Absolute Zero. His card Null Point Calibration unit allows Absolute Zero to gain health rather than lose health whenever he is affected by cold damage. So what happens if a hero loses all of their health? Worry not, because in this game you're never entirely removed from playing. On the opposite side of every hero character card is an incapacitation card. At the bottom of the incapacitation art, there are 3 incapacitation abilities. When a hero is incapacitated, all of their main deck cards are removed from the game and their character card is flipped to its incapacitated side. When it would be that hero's turn to play, they instead activate one of their incapacitated abilities. The heroes only lose the game if all the heroes are incapacitated or a card specifies otherwise. Don't get discouraged, the game's not over until the final card is played. Now that we've covered a majority of the basic mechanics of the game, allow me to introduce you to the other reason I love this game so much. Not only is this fairly simple game have a considerable skill ceiling and an excessive amount of replayability, but Sentinels of the Multiverse also sports an equally extensive, approachable, and deep quantity of story behind each and every character. Their personalities and abilities are expressed beautifully through the cards and actions available to them, as well as through information found in the rulebooks and other official sources. The Letters page, a podcast hosted by the original co-creators of this game, Adam Rebataro and Christopher Bedell, has been running since the beginning of 2017 and goes in depth on each hero, villain, environment, and the stories behind each of the card arts and comic lines they invented for an entirely fictional comic book company, Sentinel Comics. Check out the description if you're interested in taking a listen. I plan on making a series out of showcasing each hero and ways you can use their abilities to tackle the ne'er-do-wells, as well as sharing some of the stories I've made using their amazing cast of characters. So be sure to look forward to that. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.